Peace and cheers. Hi, all. Some Romulan. My goodness, if you check it out at MMJ. $12 a gram. Well worth every penny. One more. Then we'll talk. Now, you've seen the title. The Perfect Storm. A lot of you have been asking about what my ailments are. Some people don't even know that I'm off work and will never be returning back. Does it mean I can't work? It means I can't work sober. But let's go back. I have never shared this, or at least not in as a specific subject, so I thought I'd share it. We'd have some tokes together and talk about what brought me to where I am today. My health. What is it that brought me to become your happy hurtin' hippie? And I kind of like calling myself that. Peace and cheers, a little bit of Zen. I really need this now. Zen is a CBD rich shatter. It's a CBD rich plant, shatter made from it. And I need CBD today. I am in huge pain today. My back is just killing me. It's my fibro though. It's not my bones. That's different. Get to that. Cheers. I have two different CBDs. One wax, one shatter. From MMJ. One's critical mass, one's Zen. To allow myself to make it through this weekend with my boy, I need CBD for that. Anyways, you see, I want to give you my health history and why I am where I am. And truly, I think for most of us who have chronic pain, my pain started very, very young. I've always had bad stomach problems. I've always been a worrier. And at 12, I was on an ulcer diet for, 6 months or a year. I wasn't even allowed a single fried food. My steaks were baked. My mom would bake my steaks and everything, but I had serious stomach problems. Just a nervous sort. People make things difficult for me. That's why I do good on air. You aren't right in front of me, you're one step beyond. I love y'all. I just sometimes feel I'm not worthy. Let's just leave it there. Anyways, but as a teen, I was a rock musician mostly and a worker all the time because you had to pay for your rock and roll. I had back problems. I went to chiropractors all the time. Back problems run in our family. It's a normal thing. So I had pain growing up, but not terrible. Now I'm trying to do a real history. So what really, up until I was 28 years old, there wasn't anything physically I would not do. And in fact, when I started with the railway at 18, my first work was outside as a relief manager of the yard. And back then, the manager did most of the work because there wasn't too many people to manage. In fact, they called it a foreman or a supervisor, something like that. But at 18, the only reason I had it was I had good knowledge of the railway because I spent most weekends with my father at the railway. Anyway, then at 28, I had a major vehicle accident. I was driving for a living, driving a 1-ton, and my brakes gave out at an intersection and I went straight into another vehicle. A lot of people say I should not have survived that. The other person then came out paraplegic. I was on the spine board and I was 6 months in rehabilitation. Uh, I broke my neck. And I spent another 2 years of therapy and rehabilitation and trying to see if we can get my neck back to normal. And workers' compensation finally, at the end of that, settled that I was 7 to 9% permanently disabled, that I would never get that movement back in my neck, and that later in life, likely uh, other conditions may onset. Now we zoom because I went back to work. I dealt with, so from the age of 28 on, I had chronic pain every day, all night. Pain in my neck. But I would say it started off as, say, a 2 or a 3 or a 4. But because of that, out of 10, because of that, it's always there. Often you could just not even feel it. Other times it would irritate and cause headaches and issues like that. But I made it all the way until 2011. About 2009, 2008, 2009, things were getting really, really tough. I had just finished a major project with CP Rail that was, millions and millions. This, I'll show you this. This is the award I got for running that project. Tri-X project, says 2003 to 2008. It was a complete refurbish of all software for the industry. It was huge, and they say the project's 2003 to 2008, but I was honestly on it from 2001 to 2003, building proof of concept and ensuring that we had people out there that could do what we said the computer could do. This was back in the time of ETAs and delivery schedules and being able to trace shipments better and stuff like that. Voice activation, all those things. It was a huge, huge project, a huge undertaking by CP Rail, and a huge undertaking by me. I was, for those entire 7 years, I was on call 24/7, 365. I traveled 300 days a year. I was just overused and overabused. Companies do that with their top executives. So, around that time, 2008 to 2011, it was the perfect storm. My neck problems had morphed into what they now call spondylosis, a deterioration of the C-spine. Deterioration of spine, but in this case, spondylosis of the C-spine. One of the bones is actually bent over and touching another. There are some things that I can do about it, such as fusing them together, but that seems harsh. So I was dealing with, what do I do with this pain? As it was increasing, so were my migraines. Migraines, I was getting up to about, 4 or 5 a month, but each one lasting 5 or 6 days. So the entire month was migraines. It was almost daily. There was few days without pain. During that time, my wife and I were trying to make a baby. And although I had already made 3 earlier in my life, we were having a difficult time, and we did not know why. So that added to, we did end up making Pasha. Fantastic. But that added to it. And in 2008 was my mom's first and biggest coronary. She had a huge heart attack. And then in 2009, she broke her neck. Fell in her yard. All these things kept mounting on each other, and my spondylosis was getting worse. But not only that, I was starting to get pains all over, and it took a couple of years, but around 2011, they figured it out. It was fibromyalgia for men. Um, so you add all that together. It was February 11th, 2011, 5 years ago, that my doctor said, "You're not going to work. You are depressed. You are broken." And, I've never been able to look back. I used to, like I say, run multi-million dollar projects while doing other stuff on the side, because CP always knew that I had some fantastic skills in being able to fix problems when problems arose. So I overworked myself, and I don't blame my company. Companies, if you give, they will take. If you give, they will take. So I gave. I should not have given so much. So many people warned me, "You're working too hard. You're working too hard." I blame myself for a lot of what has happened here. I shouldn't have driven that truck that originally broke my neck, because I had reported the brakes as bad, and they said drive it anyway. I should have refused. A lot of what's caused to me was caused by me, and I get that. We make choices in life, and for some reason I was meant to be somebody at 55 years old sitting in front of you telling you my life story. Everything up until this point built up to this and to my next. Whatever I do after this, everything is built up to that. Oh, my pipe just fell apart in my hands as I was picking it up to smoke with you. I'll pick that up later. We'll have a dab instead. My other CBD, the CBD critical mass, that's a CBD shatter. Really, really strong shatter. The other CBD is CBD Zen. And that, as you can see, is a perfectly clear and beautiful. It looks like shatter. It's more of a snap and pull or a wax. I was going to grab the Zen, but I am going to grab the critical mass. Critical mass is more of a hybrid. Good for the daytime. The Zen really puts me asleep and increases my appetite, although the appetite would be a good thing right now because I usually don't eat during the day. Peace and cheers. One thing I should say, during that 2008 to 2011 when my doctor finally took me off of work, what was happening at work was I was having panic attacks like crazy. 2008, that Tri-X project broke me. The mind can only take so much of doing 100 things at once, 16 hours a day. The mind can only take so much. And I think I pushed myself way beyond my own limits. I thought I was Superman, and I was not. And by 2011, I was having a hard time at work, even doing my staff budget. It was January, and I was a couple of weeks late in getting and I shouldn't say small budget, but my staff, my little department that I was running after that project, I think my budget was $4.5 million, $5 million a year, and I had to put in a budget. And really, budget making for me back then was a couple hours a day for about 4 or 5 days, and boom, you had a budget. But I was telling my doctor, I can't even do it. Every time I go to do it, I have a panic attack. Every time the phone rings, I have a panic attack. The project broke me. I am still to that point this day that if it's something pressing, I fall apart. And that is what I used to be great at. If it was difficult, call Gordy. If it was impossible, call Gordy. He'll find the probable. The mind still works. And if I'm forced into a situation, it can still do its magic. But I fear from it now. I shy away from all difficulty because the anxiety gets up there. In the last week, I flushed out a lot of anxiety that was building up over the last month because everything felt so urgent, so needs to be done right now, you know? And I was so sick of that at work with these milestones and deadlines and artificial deadlines that if you don't meet it by then there's penalties against your own personal compensation and shit like that. So I just hate that part of the world now. And I think part of it comes from 35 years of hiding the hippie. I think that I hurt myself doing that. You know, I got hired by CP at 18. By 19, I was working in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, with a pretty good job. And probably by 22, 23, I cut my hair and started becoming outwardly the person that I needed to be able to raise a family and have a good career. Now I'm back to who I used to be, and I'm starting to relax again. Don't hide the hippie. Don't hide the hippie. Maybe that's what I should call this. Don't hide the hippie. Peace and cheers. Love and harmony. Now you know my medical history. This is why I'm broken right now. Could I work? My camera's doing funny things. Could I work? If I can get a job that I can be medicated during the job, I could work easily. I can get 4 or 5, up to 8 hours a day. Even with fibromyalgia, even with my mind playing tricks with me. But CP Rail will not let me back medicated. So I won't be working again. At least not there. Peace and cheers. Love. Oh, and also, once I retire, then I can work other places. But right now I'm on disability. And if I work other places that do let me while medicated, that gets deducted from what I currently get. So it would be a waste of time to do it. But even more, then they could use the fact that I'm working against me to try to withdraw my disability. So until I go full pension, which I hope will be this year, I have to sit in this limbo. Peace and cheers. Don't hide the hippie.